curious, bro. What gets you excited to wake up every morning?
What gets me excited? Well, usually it's like Telegram that's waking me up every morning at like 4 a.m. But what gets me excited? I think it's really just building a startup. Like this industry right now is it's kind of like the Wild West, right? And there's so much opportunity, and there are people that are working 24/7 regardless of the time zone you're in. And so, I mean, I'm a big believer that, blockchain right now is kind of nascent technology, but like we really are building kind of the next stage of internet. And so I think getting up every day and not knowing what the day is going to hold and what you're going to do, but like you're going to have an impact, but you just have no idea how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's just pretty exciting.
So how did you come about being a co-founder of a startup? I mean, you don't just pack up and create this thing overnight, right? It just like, I'm sure a lot of it was premeditated. I'm sure the transition was crazy. Tell me a little bit about that.
So let's see. We've been working on Turnio for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
Publicly, probably about a year or so, a little over. And I got into blockchain technology kind of like everybody else, like, Bitcoin, I'm hearing about this, internet money, what is this, and so that's kind of how I started looking at it. And my previous career, I actually spent 10 plus years working in Manhattan, specifically in the digital advertising space, programmatic advertising, specifically of digital advertising, if you know that.
Sure, I work in the OTT space, so I work a lot with DFP, Spot Exchange, Freewheel. I mean, I'm with Oath, so we have our own SSP as well.
Wait, you're at Oath right now?
I work with Verizon Media.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
I focus on OTT, and then I also, my brother and I co-founded Sporantic's professional brand development agency. Done a lot of digital marketing myself.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so programmatic, right? Basically, there's a complete lack of transparency in the digital advertising ecosystem, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when we're looking at blockchain, we're like, all right, this is cool, and there's obviously real applications here to bring transparency to the space. But how do you make it scale specifically in a programmatic environment? So anyway, working in digital media, I saw the problems. I'm like, blockchain has real application, but we've got to focus on the scalability. Why? Not to get too far into the details, but programmatic advertising creates a large amount of QPS, right? Trade desk, you're doing 10 to 11 million QPS a second, right? So you need a blockchain that can scale. And our approach at Turnio to solving some of the issues in digital advertising with blockchain is by decentralizing each and every impression that is being purchased, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So that's the only way, in our theory, is the right way to do it. So at Turnio, we have Lexicon, which is a highly scalable blockchain framework. We're actually earlier this week, we were just accepted into Amazon's advanced technology tier.
Okay.
So we're one of 5 companies now.
Wow.
And anyway, long story short, what we're doing is we're going to different ad tech companies and basically saying, listen, blockchain can solve real problems for you. The only way to do it is in a scalable nature, using programmatic as kind of the underlying protocol, solve that, and use our technology to get transparency into your ad supply chain.
So you guys are the programmatic stack. You're not necessarily the bucket in which, like, you're not the ad decisioning system. Rather, you want the ad decisioning system like DFP, Spot Exchange, Freewheel to build on top of your protocol. Or to integrate your protocol.
Not so much, and I should clarify this. We're not an ad tech only play. It's just that my background is in it, and considering we're getting really into the
I love it because people in ad tech are just such like joyful nerds about it. So I get geeked out.
So basically you got the bid request, bid response, and win notice, right? We're taking those 3 points of data and writing that to the blockchain in real time in order to gain transparency. Now that doesn't mean that we can't work with the U.S. government, with a fintech company. We're not typically an ad tech company, right? We're not doing any ad serving, yield management, data targeting, anything like that.
Sure.
We've simply built the scalable blockchain architecture that companies can use to write that data in real time.
Yeah.
And then we've also have the UI where instead of actually going through the ledger sets themselves and understanding where all this RTB data comes from, we can aggregate it in an easy to use UI. So this way, a media buyer at Oath is like, I don't know what blockchain is. I don't care. Like, just tell me how I can make better decisioning and get more efficient supply paths. That's where we are.
Interesting. That's crazy, man. I mean, how did you, in particular, did you always see this opening, or was it through being involved with cryptocurrency and blockchain that you kind of put the 2 and 2 together?
I like crypto just in terms of what it stood for, and then looking at really what powers it. I always like to say blockchain is really your iPhone, right? And Bitcoin is just an app that resides on the iPhone, right? So like the technology at its core has a lot of applications, not just in ad tech, but in any industry. And just kind of, hearing a lot of the comments in digital advertising about, the industry, and specifically in digital advertising, is growing year over year, right? Meanwhile, so is the fraud, right? $18 billion in 2017 was spent on fraud out of a total, I think it was like $224 billion industry. And so the ecosystem as a whole can't sustain itself if you keep having all this fraud and all these problems. Yet the issue is that the advertisers are really the only ones getting screwed. Everybody else down the supply chain is benefiting from it. So at some point, the advertisers are going to pull back, right? It's kind of like was it Mark Pritchard, Procter & Gamble? He called like the ad supply chain like murky at best, fraudulent at worst, or something like that, right?
Sure.
So you have these major brands that are like, we know we're getting ripped off. Nobody's doing anything to solve the problem. What can we do here? And it's like, well, hey, blockchain as a technology can solve this. And it's funny, when we started Turnio, I didn't think we'd get as far as we did in the first year. And it's been crazy. We have a ton of great brands that want to use our technology. We have Amazon, we have all these, Accenture, all these companies that are ready to deploy pilots. I think somebody gave me this explanation, which I think is really spot on. They said, it's like, what you guys are trying to solve in digital advertising is like herding cats, right? So you get the advertisers on board, then you need to get the agencies on board, then you need to get the DSPs and the exchanges, the SSPs, so on and so forth.
There's a lot of moving pieces,
right?
Yeah.
Because that's how it functions in programmatic. Pepsi doesn't buy an ad on WallStreetJournal.com directly. They work through a series of middlemen.
Brokers.
Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 40, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get all these people involved, all working off the RTP protocol, and how do you write that to the blockchain? And then how does everybody get value? Because the biggest concern with a lot of companies is, well, I'm going to expose my margins. People are going to just try to disintermediate me. What we like to say, Returnio, is that it's not about determining how or where a brand buys media. It's just about bringing transparency to the process.
Okay.
What's high value to one person might be low value to the next person, or there might just be inefficiencies all along the supply chain that people can find out, right?
Okay.
But the only way to really do that is by bringing transparency to the market, because without that transparency, you're working off all these different walled gardens, centralized systems, whatever you want to call it, brokers, to your point. So anyway, it's a real problem.
I think from the way that you're looking at it is really interesting, because you want to bring transparency to solve not just the advertiser's problem, but also the supply side as well, right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you understand just exactly what inventory you're pulling in.
Yeah.
Like the information, there's a lot of back and forth between that, right?
Yes.
And I'm curious, just for people that aren't really in the ad tech space, the OTT space, in this realm overall, what are some of the challenges that a brand faces today when they want to advertise, and what will your technology do to fix that?
So yeah, I hate to harp specifically on advertising, but we'll definitely, just because we'll definitely do it. So basically there's a couple problems. One is the lack of transparency, right? Half of an advertiser's media spend usually goes to the supply chain. Sometimes it's more if you're really dialed in, sometimes it's less. But the reality is that digital advertising is one of the most expensive supply chains out there today, right? Theoretically, Pepsi puts $1 into the digital advertising supply chain. 50 cents comes out on the other end for Wall Street Journal. That other 50 cents got sucked up somewhere, but both Wall Street Journal and Pepsi don't exactly know who's taking that money, where's that cut coming from, and are there more efficient paths, or are they paying for fraud, right? Outside of that, there's just a whole lot of fraud, people kind of double dipping, taking different payments, you know how it goes. And then also, kind of the standard use case for any kind of blockchain/crypto company is payment remittance. So you have all these companies, so Pepsi pays the agency net 30, agency pays the DSP net 30, so on and so forth. And here's Wall Street Journal getting paid net 90, sometimes net 120 for a campaign they delivered. So from a cash flow standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And really what we're trying to solve is what's transparency, right? And then stage 2 of that is how can the brand pay every partner in the supply chain based upon their terms, not based upon the terms of kind of, a trickle-down effect.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just removing ambiguity. Yeah.
And
Bottom line is you're removing ambiguity, bringing transparency, and so I know, like, if I put $1 in advertising, I know exactly where that's going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
that's very core value.
And it's doing it in a programmatic way is really kind of the core of it, right? Because for those that don't know, programmatic advertising is kind of like high frequency trading on the stock market, where you go to a web page, there's 5 ads. Within milliseconds, those 5 ads are sent up a supply chain to the brand, who determines in real time, do I want to buy this, yes or no?
Sure.
If I do, yes, here's my bid, boom, boom, boom. It's a very low latency business, right?
Yeah.
So to my point earlier, our theory is that you need to be able to just write every single impression that is purchased to that blockchain in real time. And if you don't have a scalable blockchain framework, then you can never support that.